And I thought he needed the other droid because he was like a protector droid, like he was going to blast stuff. Which later in this episode, you're like, oh, okay, maybe he could have needed that. No, it's for air quality, even though he has a helmet and he doesn't need the air quality to be good. It doesn't make any sense. None of this show makes sense right now. Hey guys, as usual, please like and subscribe if you like the content. Feel free to check out my episode 1 of Mando Season 3 review. Everything really kind of ties in when you watch that one as well as my sequel trilogy reimagined, all my other Star Wars content. So let's get into this Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 1, or excuse me, Episode 2. But before we do that, I'm just going to take a second. Episode 1 was setting up a plot for Mando to go take a bath in the waters of Mandalore so that he can gain acceptance from the armor in his helmet cult because he took his helmet off. I don't know if this means if he takes his helmet off again, he can just go back and do this again or not. But he has to prove he did it somehow, and really it was, incessant on having this particular droid with her, insistent, I should say, at having his particular droid with him that needed fixing. And just going back for a second, so think about this logically. So say he takes the bath, and then all the Mandalorians get together and they decide, let's restore Mandalore, and he's like the king because he's got the dark saber and all that stuff. He could just keep taking his helmet off and then just going down to the baths and bathing. Like, you know what I mean? So when you start looking at that whole plot line is full of holes, and it's weird. Anyway, so he needed this droid, this particular droid, and went through this whole thing with this droid in episode 1, which turned out to be totally pointless. So like 2/3 of the first episode were totally pointless. Anyways, and then Grogu didn't do anything in episode 1. He just walked around, acted cute, was a baby. So on to episode 2. So there's a race car driver that wants the Afro lady. Remember the Afro lady from the previous seasons? It's always fixing his ship. He's always going back to her to fix his ship. So he was in a race and his vehicle had an issue, and he brings it into her. This guy looks like he's Greedo's race, whatever the heck they're called. And she says it's missing too many parts, and she has to charge extra for it. And then, so she finally agrees to fix it if the guy pays half up front. And then the guy leaves, and a bunch of Jawas come out with his car's missing parts. And she's like, paint them in a different color, and let's get those parts back on. And I was like, okay, so I knew the Afro lady was a little bit, she's trying to get money and like making little minor ethical decisions that aren't the best to get that money. We already got that, but they went like full sleazy mechanic stereotype with this one, like full blown. So she's telling them to spray paint the parts a different color and put them back on as fast as they can. So she's like a full blown con artist. Like, I thought she seemed kind of nice. She did a little bit of whatever, but it wasn't like a big deal. And she's a friend of Mando's and everything. And I guess Johnny Favreau just could not resist taking her just totally into the like worst mechanic shop stereotypes, and which again is boring too, because we see that in everything. We see that in everything. Every movie, the mechanic is some like sleazeball, right? Like, and it challenges the main character. Heck, in everything. And I don't know why they had to go that route. I liked that she was, a little bit different than that, and whatever. But that's what they decided to do. And then she was even like, quickly get in here before he sees you. And you're just like, okay, so that's what you've been doing. You're not actually kind of a nice person and this and that. You're actually just a total piece of crap who rips people off, like not just a little bit, but major. Anyways, of course, I'm watching the scene going, okay, when's Mando going to show up? And he shows up. And this time, though, his ship isn't getting fixed, but he's just getting a tune-up. So it's basically stop to get the ship looked at episode again to start off, and then he's looking for the part for the droid that he wants to get fixed still. So he's literally traveling through the galaxy all the way and then to Mos Eisley on Tatooine to ask this lady. It's like, bro, there's gotta be somewhere else you can go to get a part for a stupid droid. Like, this just seems so But it's just a way to get her back into the show, right? Have another scene with her because in the mind of the writers, we're all needing more scenes with her because she's one of our faves. Oh, this is hilarious. So Grogu sees her. I laughed out loud like this. Grogu sees her and does this flip like 10 feet in the air from the ship into her arms. but like not in a good way. Like it was cringe. So it's they're at the point now where like regular Grogu being cute stuff is starting to fade and get played out. So so now he's gonna do tricks for us, for the audience. He's gonna do tricks. So we think he's cuter, right? It's like going to the zoo and the zoo animals, yeah, the sea lion's cute, but if the sea lion can, do a flip off of the rock and land in the water, well, I might pay a couple bucks to go see that marine show. You know what I'm saying? So that's the point we're at with Grogu, right? Where he's just being himself is not enough. He's got to do tricks for us, and it looked so cheese, and it looked like some guy in a green screen suit literally threw the puppet. That's that like the way he moved, you could see it. It looked like one of my kids throwing one of their stuffies. Like it looked so bad, and it looks like they had a guy in a green suit like throw the puppet just in live action, and then that's what they ended up using. It was so funny and terrible. Oh my goodness! And there was no grace to it or anything. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know if this was a force powerful thing, like power thing, but it was super, super weird. Like I think he used the force, I'm assuming, but it was like really off putting and over the top. And and then Grogu tries to talk a little bit, I guess, but it just sounds like baby gibberish still because of course, he can understand the vast concepts of the force and healing and training and just mega powerful force user, like beyond Yoda as a baby, and he knew all this stuff, and he's so intelligent with the force, but he can't talk. And he can hardly walk. Makes perfect sense. I mean, why would the Jedi teach him to talk when you know, why would you do that? You don't need to talk to be the most powerful Jedi in the history of Star Wars as a baby. You don't need to know how to talk or walk properly. Why would the Jedi waste their time with that? Why would you need to communicate? Why would you need to hear what he has to say? It's just so. Oh, anyway, but he was at the temple for 50 years. He's been at the temple. It's just he's a baby. We just watched a baby do a force flip, but he can't talk. And what's also interesting with this force flip, this is dawned on me too, is that having him do this big flip jump in such a casual setting, like he's literally in Mos Eisley in this crusty shop with Afro Lady, and like he's doing a force thing similar to like Rey and Kylo's huge jumps in the Rise of Skywalker that are supposed to be like super super epic, and it's like, yeah, well, Grogu just does that when he wants to like say hi to somebody. You're just like, it's just what are these dummies thinking? And then it turns out Mando goes back to the Afro Lady looking for the part of his droid, as I said earlier, and he's completely decided that he needs that droid, that specific droid, before going to the abandoned, destroyed planet. Even though he's very capable himself, and Grogu can just stick his hand out, right? Grogu can just stick his hand out, and nothing matters, right? So I don't know why beforehand he thinks he needed that droid, and of course no other droid can suffice. So the fetch quest continues as predicted. So he's scouring the galaxy. He's flown all the way to Tatooine. Makes perfect sense, very rational. Mando in the first two episodes of this season proves himself to be perfectly rational. And then we find out he needs to send a certain type of droid ahead of him to test the air quality, but he has a helmet that can get airtight, so he doesn't need the air quality to be good. So why? Like And you're gonna see that later. He's gonna put his helmet on, and he's not gonna need to know that the air quality's good. Like, so what is what is the point of all this? And like, are these droids not available? Like, he has to fly across the galaxy to find one of these droids, air quality, or to get the part to fix the specific droid. It's like, you got planets, you got moons, you got places all over the place that might have crappy air. Like, these droids should be everywhere. This should not be difficult. And the reason it's so hard to find this droid is so we have an excuse for Mando to go all the way back to Mos Eisley to Afro Lady. It's just, anyways. So then, out of nowhere, Afro Lady, in 3 sentences, convinces Mando to buy the droid she just bought from the Jawas that was falling apart to help Mando, navigate through space with his ship. And again, after going across the galaxy looking for a part for his particular droid, he's just like, yeah, sure. After all that. So, like, Carl Weathers was like, bro, why do you need this exact droid? Like, we can do something else for you. I'll take care of you. Blah, 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 blah. No, it has to be that droid so we can have the scene of him crawling along the floor. It's like a horror movie, except it's laughable. Like, it's just, none of this makes any sense. So he takes the advice of Afro Lady instead of the guy who is running a city. Probably has 1,000 droids. You could go get one of them for him. And I thought he needed the other droid because he was like a protector droid, like he was going to blast stuff. Which later in this episode, you're like, oh, okay, maybe he could have needed that. No, it's for air quality, even though he has a helmet and he doesn't need the air quality to be good. It doesn't make any sense. None of this show makes sense right now. Like, I'm 5 minutes into episode 2, and it's like 15 things that are just stupid and don't make sense. But whatever, Afro Lady, I guess she's just like the best salesman in the galaxy. And instead of getting a droid for free from Carl Weathers, he buys her crappy droid, which, by the way, can read the air quality. So this wasn't some rarity. So why he needed to fly all the yeah, it's just on and on. It just is really dumb. I guess these droids are a dime a dozen. So episode 1, most of it was just completely pointless. So he goes to Mandalore. Then it's another scene about how being Mando means you need to know how to navigate the galaxy. It's like anyone who travels the galaxy needs to know this. And then he just bought a droid to help him fly his ship. And it's like, so I was right all along with the first episode. He's just an irrational guy. Like, it doesn't even make any sense. And that's why he didn't take Carl Weathers' job offer, which would have been a way more interesting show than this nut jobness. And that's why he thinks he needs to take a bath to remain in his dumb cult. And then it's like, has John not watched Star Wars? Like, and this is what I keep getting with Disney Star Wars. Like, it's like they don't watch it. It's like the writer who didn't realize that Obi-Wan knew who Anakin was. He's writing the Obi-Wan show, and he didn't even watch Revenge of the Sith. Like, it doesn't. He doesn't even watch the content, and he's writing lore. Ships in Star Wars have navicomputers. They all do. That's literally what they have. It's like we have Google. Like, you type in the system and it gives you the directions. That's, the computer had to figure out for Han where the line was to go through light speed so they wouldn't hit a planet. He had to wait for the computer to do that for him. He didn't do that himself. Now, if Mandalorian was doing that himself in a separate sort of Mandalorian special way and not using the navicomputer, you could say, okay, that's kind of cool. It's kind of pointless, and you're you could be wrong once and then you're dead or whatever. But cool, whatever. You guys can read the stars without using the navicomputer. But he's using it. He's using it, and he's pointing to the screen, and the dots on the screen are coming from the navicomputer onto the screen for him to see where he's going. There's nothing special about this. It's just, John needed a reason to have a father-son moment, and this is the best thing he could come up with. He's teaching Grogu. No, Grogu is going to use the navicomputer like every other person, including Mando, that's ever flown in space in Star Wars. Think of some other way to have the father-son teaching moment. Like, we're not dumb. Right? He has to have a reason for for Mando to go back to Navarro. So he writes in he needs that particular droid, and then boom, next episode, first 5 minutes. No, I don't. I'll take this other droid. He's just, this is lazy writing. It's nonsense. And then we discover that the magnetism of the planet makes it so they can't communicate outside the planet. So that means, so they can't contact anybody else without physically leaving the planet. So obviously that means, of course, something really bad is going to happen. And at this point in the show, I'm predicting monsters because it looks kind of creepy and blah, blah, blah. It's obvious. This is what they do. It's another monster episode. And in the end, it's a monster episode. And so the droid goes out to test the air, and he goes behind some rocks, and then drops off of the scope on the ship. So now Mando has to go out on his own anyway, and then he pressurizes his helmet, like I said. So again, he didn't need to send the droid out. So what was all this droid nonsense for, other than to waste time and to make this an 8-episode show when it probably should be 3? And then they added this breathing sound at the beginning when he was walking around, which was just, I don't know why they did that. Vader, I don't know. It was very off-putting. And then Mando finds, I guess, what turns out to be the Civic Center. He landed right on top of it. Wow, that was easy. And then monsters, of course. And then they look like cavemen, troll things, and they have clubs. And then Mando busts it out, baby. The Darksaber. And the funniest part is the way he holds it is like, this is Spaceballs worthy. I was impressed with that. That was solid. And then he gets his droid he didn't need back. And the atmosphere is breathable. He finds out anyway. And then I'm thinking, maybe he just really wants to bathe without his helmet on? Anyways, we'll find out later. And they landed, like I said, right above the Civic Center. So now he just has to go down, and so they go down to the bathwater. So they look around for a while, and they really dragged the walking around, whether it was Mando or Bo-Katan on Mandalore, way too long. I mean, this episode could have been 20-25 minutes easy. Whatever. Mando finds an old helmet, and he's looking at it, and then, oh my gosh, he gets grabbed by some machine spider thing with a creature driving it. And then Mando gets taken away. He's like in this like cage that he can't move. And he gets away, leaving Grogu alone. And I'm like, you know what? This might actually be good. I would like to see some episodes without Grogu and Mando together. It might be kind of interesting to just have some Mando episodes. You know full well that's not what's going to happen. And then you see the creature come out of the spider thing, and so then it's like, oh, it's going to be Grogu versus this spider thing, death match, and Grogu uses the Force but fails for once using the Force to save Mando. I guess this guy's cage is like super intense, and the guy sees him and shoots at him, and then he has to run, and Mando, just as he's running away, goes, go find Bo-Katan, who's on another planet. Oh, but Mando showed him where it is that time on his space map that uses the Navi computer, so Grogu can fly there now, I guess. And there's the droid, so whatever. Good thing you got an astromech droid, right? Just he happened to follow Afro Lady and get the astromech droid instead of getting the other one fixed. So now Grogu has a droid to help him fly the ship. Everything's so convenient, and everything just falls into place. This is so bunk. And then a cave dude, a caveman, another caveman sees Grogu and he comes out, blah, and that's that part from the trailer where you see him going flying out of the cave because Grogu, he sticks his hand out, baby, and all good. So whatever. And then Grogu gets in the ship and he points to the moon on the map, and then the droid flies them there with some bat creature trying to get after them. And then he gets to Bo-Katan's castle, and Bo-Katan sees his ship coming, and she wants to be left alone. And so she comes storming out of the castle, and she's going to give Mando a talking to, and you're not coming back here. And then she's like, oh, look, it's the baby. And then instantly she springs into action to save Mando. So you're like, so she wasn't really wanting to be left alone. She just was bored sitting on that throne all day, every day, doing absolutely nothing and looking for something to do, I guess, and pretending that she wanted to be left alone. Again, everything's convenient, everything falls into place. Grogu leads her to the spider guy and Mando, and she starts asking Grogu about how powerful he is, and as if he could even answer anyway, and whatever. She's asking questions like he can't answer. And then we get more cavemen, and it's like the slow walk through Mandalore and confront caveman part 2. We didn't need this at all. We didn't need her to she fights the spider dude. We didn't need her to fight the caveman too. Just adding time for no reason. And it's like so Mando killed like 10 of them. I guess there's bazillions because they're just gonna keep coming out. And then the spider guy starts sucking Mando's blood with a machine. And then Bo-Katan shows up and she stabs him with the dark saber that the spider guy left on the ground after he took Mando's weapons away, just threw them on the ground, and then Grogu came and tried to save Mando and was standing a foot away from those weapons, and the spider guy caught him, shot at him, Grogu ran away, and the Spider-Man wasn't like, maybe I should put these weapons somewhere else in case somebody like that could like grab one of them. No, he just leaves it on the ground. So I guess being messy and disorganized coincides with being a bloodthirsty weird creature thing. Anyway, she grabs the darksaber and cuts them all up, and then the spider guy's head dismembers from his body and he crawls away. And then we get a shot of Din and he looks like he's dead from the blood draining. I mean, some definite horror references this season so far with the demon droid, uh, crawling with one arm and no legs after Grogu in the last episode, which turned out to be completely pointless. And then we get the spider head thing and the blood sucking, and he's a creature that has multiple bodies he fits into that are half mechanical, and he's sort of organic. It's a lot of horror references, sort of classic horror references. And then, oh no, Spiderhead is back inside his mecha spider machine suit thing, and he starts fighting Bo-Katan, and again she just chops up the suit. Like, one thing about Bo-Katan in this is like very little, if any, difficulty with any fighting anything. She just slices and dices, and she cuts up the suit, and I guess once the actual creature, which is this spider with the thing that turns into just the head of his other big suit, enters the suit, but then the suit gets chopped, then it dies. So like it died this time, but she didn't actually stab it where it was located in the mech suit. She just chopped up the mech suit's legs and stuff. But it still died. But it survived when she cut it all up when it was in his other spider suit. It's just, anyways, whatever. He died, and then Mando and Bo have the bathwater things, a children's fable discussion again, but Mando really wants his redemption bath, and he's insistent, and she offers to take him. He said he wouldn't leave without doing it. But it would have been hilarious if Bo-Katan was like, "Well, okay, man, see ya. Your ship's back in my castle, but I'm going home," and just left him there. I thought that would have been actually pretty funny. She doesn't, of course. She takes him down there because she knows where they are, because she's been there and she's bathed in them because she was royalty. Blah blah blah. You get the story, and then she reads the myth of the first Mandalore defeating the beast in the mines, which is in the symbol of Mandalorians is his skull of this giant creature, and she's basically thinks it's a joke the whole time, basically mocking it. It's a children's fable, and whatever. So unfortunately, Mando doesn't get naked, and he walks into the waters, helmet and all. Let's carry all this metal as we walk into a pool of water. That's really smart and safe. And then as he's reciting his like forgiveness prayer thing, recommitment to the creed, he gets sucked under, and Bo goes after him, and she finds him at the bottom, and it's like, yeah, like you guys kept on all your armor. She even had her jetpack on. She was using it underwater. I guess you could do that. Whatever. I mean, that's not totally unbelievable, but it's like you have all this weight, and you're in a giant big lake. So it's like that's not what you're supposed to be doing. But anyway, so I don't know how you wouldn't drown anyway, but whatever with all that on. And then the beast. And so you're like, so they see the beast, that the guy supposedly killed. And I guess it's a mystery box for the next episode or whatever, but he didn't do anything to them. He looks at them and then she flies away. So you're like, okay, so then did the first Mandalore never kill it? So was Bo-Katan right the whole time? This whole thing was bull crap. But then at the same time, it's like, so it wasn't seen the whole time that like the Mandalore city and all this stuff was around, just stayed there and didn't do anything. And so then it's like, maybe it's all bull crap, or is this like the child of the one it killed? You know what I'm saying? And then at the very end, she like turns around to where they came from and is like breathing all heavy, like, and you get the sense, even with the helmet on, that she's kind of surprised to have seen that. There is a beast. Is it the same beast that Buddy supposedly killed or not? I'm gonna say that's probably what they're going with, is that he's full of crap. But then Mando and her are gonna kill the beast, and then all the other Mandalores are gonna come back and they're gonna reform Mandalore, and maybe Bo-Katan and Din can bump Bugs and have some kiddos, and Grogu can have some siblings. I feel like that's the way to go. Anyways, at this point, it does appear like Bo-Katan was right, and all the different factions traditions were stupid, and they are the problem, and all this mythology surrounding the Mandalorian culture is the problem. Especially considering it now looks like maybe it was all the origins of it are made up. Now, okay, so I'm just gonna finish off with this. Um, where this is going now potentially is certainly better than just the Bath storyline. That's for sure, I think, unless they somehow totally screw this up. But the execution is bad, and that's what I keep going off. Everything sort of falls into place. There's no logical explanation for decisions people are making, Mandalorians making, different people are making. There's the characters like Bo-Katan just okay, sure, yeah, I guess I have purpose now. I just want to be left alone. No, I don't. Just like they just completely change their minds just to suit the story. So they're writing a story. It's like Kathleen Kennedy said. Their whole writing process is they want to tell a story, and they're just gonna throw characters and instances in to make it happen, and whether it makes sense and whether it goes for or against the character that they decide to put in that place to fulfill that story that they want to tell, they're just going to do it. And it's not just fulfilling stories they want, it's shots they want. I want a shot of Anakin with his helmet cut in half, and so we are going to find a way, come hell or high water, to have that screenshot. And if it makes no sense and it's dumb and cheese and stupid, we're going to do it anyway. It's like we want a shot in The Rise of Skywalker of a bazillion ships. That's part of the story. We want those bazillion ships. We want the audience to look at those bazillion ships showing up. So if it means we're gonna write a nonsensical thing where Lando somehow gets, in 15 hours, 10,000 people showing up out of nowhere across this vast galaxy of bazillions of planets and stars and miles and whatever, then we're gonna do that because we want that shot. And this is another example of that. And their whole style is backwards. Like everything everything should be making sense. Everything should be logical. So I'm, as the audience. So now I'm looking. I'm going like anything could happen at this point, and it's all going to be convenient, and that's boring and dumb. Even if they do the route where, wow, we're gonna get all the Mandos together to go take on the beast, it's like, but why? If the myth was fake, why do you want to go and just make it real now? Because the whole reason you committed to it was because you thought it was real, but now that you know it's fake, you're gonna try and make it up yourselves. I just feel like this is going a really stupid route, and it's gonna be bad. And I can't give them the benefit of the doubt anymore that they're gonna somehow figure out a way to make this make sense and be compelling, right? Making it make sense should be the least thing. They can't really even do that right now, but compelling and exciting, because again, where are you going to go with this now? Like, honestly, where are you going to go? I don't know. It's obvious what's going to happen. Bo's going to go back to the armor with him and and she's the proof that he went into the bathwater. And then they're going to tell the armor the whole myth was fake, and then it's going to turn everything on its head. But I feel like they're all going to go back to kill this monster, which is going to be dumb. So, was this better than episode 1? I guess, but it, I did like some of the stuff they did. It was dark and stuff, and didn't mind. The spider guy was kind of cool, and they did do some interesting things there. But the overall plot of this show just is getting more irrational and dumb by the day, and it's not really making any sense, and it's not compelling or exciting at all, and it's got and we all know it leads to the sequels. I don't know, guys. You tell me. I mean, it's a little better, I guess, but it still sucks. Anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good day.